Okay, so as I mentioned at the end of the preceding video, this is the best value strategy. Dr. Forrester really likes to call it that, but it's the real title of it, or real name of it, is Integrated Cost Leadership or Integrated Differentiation. But it really is about a best value. So I've kind of made the argument to you that you can only have one differentiated provider and you can only have one cost leader. So everybody else is kind of competing for that middle ground. What you're trying to do is you're trying to find the best relationship between your PQ rating and your selling price that your customers will, a suitable number of customers will actually buy. Now, we could say that that is exactly the midpoint of that line that extends from cost leadership all the way over to differentiation. And if we wanted to say, okay, I'm running a best value strategy, your goal would be to target the middle of that line, right in the middle of the market. Integrated cost leadership would be a company selling a product that is exactly average in the industry, but selling it at a slightly better selling price, a slightly lower selling price. Okay, that's integrated cost leadership. Um, the same PQ as the industry average, but the value, the relationship between price and the PQ is a little bit better than industry average. Integrated differentiation would be to sell for an average price, but to have a little bit differentiated product. And it doesn't need to be differentiated much. Perhaps maybe just 0.2 or 0.3 stars in Globus, or maybe it's having a little better warranty than your competitors. Perhaps it's offering some amenity that your competitors don't offer. Maybe maybe it's having a better sales promotion strategy. But with best value, what you're doing is you're constantly tweaking that relationship between price and PQ, trying to get customers to perceive that you have the best value in the industry. Integrated cost leadership, again, average PQ, lower than average selling price. Integrated differentiation, above average PQ, average selling price. Okay, so you see the nuanced differences. And there's a term that I like to use to help people understand this. I don't know if any of you have ever been to New Orleans, but in New Orleans, they pride themselves on their service culture, and they want everybody to have a really good experience in New Orleans, whether it's with beignets at Cafe du Monde, or whether it's you know, Oysters Rockefeller at Desire Oyster House or Acme Oyster House. Personally, I like the char grilled at Drago's, but I digress. They want people to have that excellent experience, and they have a term for it. They call it lagniappe. It's Lagniappe. Lagniappe. And lagniappe actually means, you can Google it, it means a little something extra given as a token. Okay, so when you're doing integrated differentiation, you're really about lagniappe. You want to provide something a little bit different that you don't charge for. So a bakery might provide a baker's dozen donuts, and that's 13 donuts. If you were going to the Cafe du Monde, they might give you a little extra powdered sugar. That's what they'd give me, because obviously they look at me and they know I'm a fat boy, and a little extra powdered sugar in there. But if it's someone else, they might give them an extra fried biscuit. So it's a little something extra that's given as a token. That's the integrated differentiation strategy. And again, it does not have to be very, very much at all. That's that extra, that token, that gift that you're giving. And by the same token, if you're running integrated cost leadership, you don't have to beat your competitors by a mile on price. You just want to concentrate really on having a better than average value. And there's a really easy way that customers can perceive value. They can look at your PQ rating in Globus, and they can look at your selling price. And if you divide the selling price by the PQ rating, that gives you a price per star. And customers can make that comparison to see who has the better value. Because the reality is, best value is not just middle of the road strategy. It's not just that point right there in the middle. The reality is the best value strategy is everything in between the cost leader and the differentiated provider. It's that entire continuum. And we know that a line is just a collection of infinite points, right? So there's a lot of points there on that line. And most of you guys will run this best value strategy. You're trying to deliver superior value, get the stuff that your customers want, but sell it for a little better than expected price. And that's whether it's above average quality or below average quality, okay? Now, keep in mind, if you're going to run that strategy, you've got to have the competitive advantage, because remember, strategy is rooted in your resources. Resources lead to capabilities. Capabilities lead to core competencies. Core competencies lead to competitive advantage. Competitive advantage leads to superior financial performance. So if you're going to run that best value strategy, you've got to figure out what is your competitive advantage. What is your secret sauce? So for instance, lean manufacturing and total quality management can be the source of a competitive advantage. And I would just simply point to Toyota as evidence of that, okay? So you've got to produce at a lower than average cost if you're going to have this best value strategy, okay? Now there's some risk. You get stuck in the middle and you get too many people competing for that same market share, that same customer that wants to buy a 4.5 star or 5-star camera or a 5-star drone. You got 4 customers or 4 competitors trying to attract that 5-star customer, and you're going to all be sharing the market. What I would encourage you to do is to spread out on that continuum. So I'll give you some examples of companies that run that best value strategy. Target, their slogan, of course, is expect more, pay less. Amazon, they're committed to becoming the Earth's most customer-centric company. And that's really something when you think about the fact that they're an online retailer, which is not necessarily where we look for customer service, right? They're building a different business model. Then there's JCPenney. Now I'm going to talk to you about JCPenney in a separate video. I'm going to talk about their strategy and some stuff that they've done, because if you missed it in the news during all of the coronavirus stuff, JCPenney has filed bankruptcy. So I'm going to record a separate video and talk about their strategy and how it relates to this chapter. Stay tuned.